find relief on the big waters, the forested hills, the alpine lakes, the challenging crags. Our recreations are many, our numbers growing year by year. In nature's realm, we seek out contact with the untamed and unspoiled. But with fewer and fewer exceptions, we are city folk, all too ready to trifle with nature, all too unaware that nature may be in no mood to trifle back. City life doesn't prepare us for the appalling harshness of nature, cracking down on a little overconfidence. A small miscalculation. A trifling misstep. A loss of direction. And worst of all, getting caught out unprepared in cold, wet, and windy weather. Too many of us love and trust nature too far. Too few of us are really ready for sudden storms or understand the deadly nature of the threat they pose. We can understand why people die in a sub-zero hurricane high on a great mountain. But why should an ordinary hunter sit down and die of cold beside a pack full of warm clothes and food at temperatures above freezing? These two experienced hikers didn't freeze. For some reason, they struggled forward to the point of collapse, and then they died. One dead, one rescued. Why were their experienced, well-equipped companions unable to save them? Why didn't these two light a fire, improvise a shelter, or eat their food? Why just sit down and die? Does some insidious threat lurk out there, something that can creep up on an experienced, well-equipped parties? Something that strikes first at the human mind? There is, and its name is
hypothermia. Hypothermia simply means abnormally low temperature of the inner core of the human body. The vital organs and regulatory centers work properly only when their temperature remains very close to the normal 99 or 100 degrees. The body has many ways of defending its internal temperature. When exposed to cold, the victim's metabolism, his rate of heat production, increases. Blood vessels to the skin, hands, and feet contract so less blood will flow close to the cold surface. Involuntary shivering makes the muscles produce heat, and that miserable sensation of cold spurs physical activity. If in spite of everything, the body continues to lose heat faster than it produces it, cold begins to reach the vital centers. The defenses have failed, and hypothermia sets in. Chilling of the brain dulls the mental faculties. The victim is typically unaware that his mind is going, but degree by degree, he sinks into a deepening stupor, ending with total unconsciousness. Each degree of internal chilling retards the body's rate of heat production, so that rate slides with increasing speed toward the vanishing point. Muscle coordination falls off, beginning with the blood-starved hands and feet, and progressing to the deeper and larger muscles. The ability to stand erect and plod forward finally goes. The victim collapses, physically helpless. At about 78 degrees, breathing and heartbeat fail. Under hospital conditions, we sometimes induce hypothermia to slow down the vital processes. But this is no hospital, and it's no place to be wandering along in a deepening stupor. All too often, cases of hypothermia end with falls, drownings, exhaustion, or what the newspapers call death from exposure. Out here, hypothermia is known as exposure sickness, and it is now known to be the #1 threat to the lives of fishermen, hunters, hikers, backpackers, mountaineers, anyone who may be exposed to long periods of cold, wet, and windy weather. The most tragic thing about hypothermia incidents is that they all seem to begin so innocently.
We're gonna live like kings. You gotta take another picture, Martin.
There's no way of telling this party from hundreds of others, off to enjoy a few days playing the game of recreation. Every party has a strongman. Meet Peter. He's thinking about strenuous climbing, wants to get the trail hiking out of the way. Don, he's been packing into the choice fishing spot since he was a little boy. He's a bit uneasy at the way these people straggle, although there's no apparent harm in it. To Linda, the hike's the recreation. She enjoys the trail, keeps busy in camp, and gets along well with the hiking crowd. A lot of parties ask her to join. A party with one woman ought to have two. So here's Jill. What she lacks in outdoor experience, she makes up in enthusiasm for birds and animals.
Jill, come on, let's go. I want to do some fishing before it gets dark. Come on.
Well, I thought I saw something. Come on, Jill.
Somehow, someone has maneuvered Jill's Uncle Martin into this trip. The idea? Look after Jill.
Hey, Martin, come on, join the party. Let's get going.
Martin's idea? Don't push me. But do Martin's frequent stops mean good pictures or poor condition? We wouldn't give this party a second thought, except this is mid-September, and beyond the horizon, an early storm is on the way. With it comes a deadly threat of hypothermia, which this party may or may not be able to survive. In camp, we begin to get a line on their prospects. The girls have a storm-proof tent. Martin and Peter apparently expect nothing worse than a heavy dew. Don can hole up like a bear anywhere in any weather. The party owns enough plastic to be very useful if used right.
Hey, that tent's okay.
How long until dinner?
Oh, about 20 minutes.
Oh, good. That's enough.
Linda's cooking on a gas stove. In a pinch, this party can get along without firewood. But as a beautiful day comes to an end, who's worried about pinches? Morning, the first clouds. So high, so thin, are scarcely worth notice. Yet,
Linda, have you got a good rain parka?
Yes, Don.
You call that a rain parka?
Oh, it's torn.
Well, we better see if we could fix it.
Can you fix it?
I got some tape. Well, I hope that'll hold.
Oh, that's fine.
like most summer hikers, they worry most about overheating on the trail.
You know, Linda, we might have a weather problem.
But the weather problem they dress for is the expected heat of late summer. The idea is to let bare legs get rid of surplus body heat. Mid-morning finds the clouds a little thicker and lower, and the party scattered out along the trail. So far, the hike's been interesting, comfortable, and for Jill, memorable. As a city girl, she finds endless wonder and delight in all the living things that flourish under nature's hand. As she walks, she muses on nature's concern with life. Linda has different feelings. The atmosphere of lowering fog and dead trees has her wondering if nature gives a snap about what lives and what dies. She's not at all sure that being a human and a visitor puts her on a different footing.
Peter, you nut.
Are we stopping?
Sure, if you can use some rest.
I can use it.
Thanks, Peter.
Where's Jill?
Right behind.
The problem of overheating has not materialized. Jill hasn't shed her jacket. Martin and Don feel comfortable in wool shirts. Peter and Linda expect the stop to be brief, or they'd put on sweaters. There's no way of telling whether Don's an habitual nibbler or whether he thinks this party might need the extra energy. At any rate, these few small bites may powerfully affect the events of the next 6 hours.
Anyone want more candy? Hey, I wasn't asking you.
I'm getting cold.
Me too. Let's get moving.
The temperature's 45 degrees, wind 2 miles an hour. On a very small scale, cold begins its attack. Already the party's too slow for Peter's way of staying warm.
This place is really kind of spooky. All these dead trees.
Yeah, they probably died of the cold because they couldn't keep moving.
He's strong enough to just charge ahead. To his credit, he doesn't. The party may need its strongest member. On they go. The temperature drops a couple of degrees. The mist thickens into a drizzle. Dampness begins to invade their clothes. Noon. They are higher. It's colder. The drizzle has turned to a steady rain and clothes are getting wet.
Hey, this is silly.
Let's put on our rain gear.
Oh, we can do that in camp, can't we?
Let's put it on now. Boy, I'm going to stay dry.
Although damp, Don's wool pants and shirt will keep him warm, and he's giving his legs further protection against rain and wind. Linda put on her sweater half an hour ago. It's wet, but it will keep that clammy plastic away from her skin. Jill recognizes the importance of keeping her head warm. Most hikers detest rain clothes. Sweat collecting underneath seems as bad as rain. At 40 degrees, it only seems so. Water that cold extracts body heat at a fantastic rate. But letting themselves get wet before putting on rain clothes is a mistake. They frittered away insulating value of their clothes at a time when staying dry should have been their #1 concern. Unwittingly, they've speeded up body heat loss at the expense of their energy reserves. This party planned on using a lot of energy for hiking, but can it afford that much again just to make up for heat losses? With one exception, the party behaves as though encountering a summer shower. In cruel fact, every hour and every foot of altitude will bring colder temperatures, harder rain, and greater exposure to wind. They are walking into a major storm as though they'd never heard of exposure deaths, wasting vital body heat like there was no tomorrow. Cold water running onto bare legs literally soaks up calories. Nobody's actually suffering from cold yet, but they are burning fuel much faster than normal for people working this hard. Fuel for work and fuel for heat both come out of the same tank. Peter has a king-size energy tank, but how long can he heat the outdoors through that bare head, clammy jacket, and naked legs? To Jill's consternation, water is coming through the worn spots in her somewhat elderly poncho's coating. Martin has a problem. Can he climb fast enough to stay warm without exhausting himself? Linda simply has too much skin to the weather. She's shivering. Don's storm-proofed and weather-stripped. With energy flow divided between wheels and heaters, it looks like a long day. Considering what's ahead, considering their ignorance of hypothermia, it's unlikely they'll all live to see the end of it. And yet...
Anyone cold?
You bet.
I am.
Yes.
Well, stop and put some clothes on.
Peter, who would rather save dry clothes for camp, commits his sweater, but no head cover. Some parties have left clothes like these in their packs until someone collapsed and died. Don's theory is if you've got them, wear them. Martin and Linda add warm jackets, but that's plastic. Jill puts on the last item in her meager wardrobe, and the party's ready to go. Nobody raised the subject of trail lunch. They'll make do on the fuel in their already half-empty tank. For the time being, physical exhaustion is the main word.
It's a lot better, isn't it?
It helps.
You all right, Martin? Okay. I think we ought to slow down a little. We don't want to get stuck here.
An idea that helps Martin but hinders Peter. Temperature 39 degrees, wind 3 miles per hour. There's no danger of frostbite or freezing. Hence, in their minds, no danger, period. Wrong. A lot of people die of hypothermia. A few of them freeze afterwards. The greatest danger comes above freezing, when people are wet. 1:45 p.m. They're in the clouds.
Peter! Find us a place to rest.
38 degrees.
Looks like a spot up ahead.
The air seems to be half water in droplets that fall up, down, and sideways, penetrating everywhere, soaking into clothing. In this, the 5th hour of the hike, their bodies are channeling more energy away from muscles and into body heat, further slowing the pace, forcing short halts in awkward places.
Not much of a shelter.
Don's beginning to keep a close eye on the party's condition. He's wondering if Linda, for instance, can complete the hike as planned.
Come on, have some candy.
No.
You better have some.
How much, Peter?
No,
Peter?
Peter, eat some candy. You take some too. Come on.
No, I don't really want any.
Come on.
All right.
Come on, Martin.
yeah.
Take a bunch. You've got plenty.
Once more, Don makes the right move. Better late than never. Better something than nothing. But what do you do when the group has no leader? Who is supposed to sound the alarm? They push on up the barren ridge. What's going to happen has happened before and will happen again. For there are barren ridges in the Rockies and the Great Smokies, in the hills of Scotland and the sand dunes of the Carolina coast, in the Badlands, the duck marshes, and the snowcat country, from Ecuador to Norway, New Zealand to New Hampshire. Wherever outdoorsmen encounter cold, wet, and windy weather, there is a barren ridge.
Is this the top?
2:30 p.m., 37 degrees. Don takes a long, speculative look at the party's condition. Cold, tired, hungry, shivering. Yes, but no sign of outright collapse. And the ridge top affords easier going. Here in the lee, there's a flat calm. How about on top? In good shape himself, Don feels the group should decide.
Boy, that's a bad place if the wind comes up.
Well, I'm ready to go if everybody else is.
I'll go if Peter goes.
I don't mind getting wet if it isn't too steep.
Each has his own reasons for pushing on. Peter won't admit defeat. Linda trusts Peter's strength. Martin knows he's been slow, but he won't spoil the trip. Jill won't go against the group. All good reasons, by human rules. But nature is playing by nature's rules. The wind will come up. Unless something unexpected happens, or at least two of them, wind means death. Imperceptibly, the air begins to stir. The party moves into the twilight period between normality and hypothermia. Unnoticed by the victims or the party, one mind is beginning to dim. Others will follow. The breeze picks up, driving water under flapping rain clothes. The rate of heat loss climbs steeply. They pick up the pace to fight the cold, yet they can't risk exhaustion. Don hopes to maintain the balance with brief rests in sheltered spots.
We can stop here in the boulders for a quick rest.
Martin's slow speech might mean hyperthermia. In cold fact, the early stages of hypothermia are almost impossible to detect under field conditions. Shivering drains body fuel, but it's a normal defense of normal temperature. Yet shivering continues with increased violence after hypothermia's onset. Don listens, but how can he tell? Peter knows what happens to people who fall asleep in the frozen Yukon. What happened to him? In a rainstorm? Ridiculous.
Let's go. We just sat down. You okay, Jill?
I'll live.
You okay, Linda?
I can make it.
Now only minutes remain before unmistakable symptoms of hypothermia appear. Memory lapses, frequent stumbling, incoherent speech, muscle rigidity. But the victims will stay on their feet and plod ahead to the point of total collapse. By the time of the first collapse, there will probably be several cases in the party. If there's one thing unfit to help a collapsed hypothermic, it's another hypothermic.
Who put another hill here?
No matter, it's just a couple of 100 yards of steep going, but it's enough. The whole 6 hours, miles of climbing, wet clothes, uncovered heads, bare legs, no lunch, prolonged shivering are all catching up at once. It's just a question of who and how many.
I've got to stop. Hold up a minute, Peter. Jill, where's your gloves? Peter? Martin? We got to get off this ridge.
Martin, you and Linda help Jill. Take her straight down. Peter! Stop, Peter!
In the normal course of hypothermia, the symptoms Don spotted come less than an hour before collapse, as little as 4 hours before death. Thanks to early detection, Peter and Jill are not yet totally helpless, but their lives depend on immediate, effective treatment.
We'll make camp right here.
Even now, there's a gruesome chance that Jill and Peter will just keep sliding toward death.
Martin, get the tent out of Jill's pack, quick.
Come on, Jill. Give me your pack.
Sit down here, Jill. We'll get you warmed up in a minute.
Jill's body has lost the power to rewarm itself without help. Peter's chilled brain and hands completely nullify his great strength. Thanks to Don, Jill's life and Peter's depend on people still able to think straight and move quickly.
Jill, strip down and get in that sack. Martin, unzip a bag and cover Peter. And use your poncho, too. We need water.
I'll get it.
Hurry. They've got to have hot drinks.
Peter's temperature is about 88 degrees. His metabolism is so low, it will continue going down after heat loss is stopped. The gas stove now becomes an asset beyond price.
Don, she doesn't even have her boots off. Get another sleeping bag and get it unzipped.
Hypothermia victims have died because their parties fail to recognize the necessity of immediate, drastic treatment. It dawns on Martin that arresting and reversing Jill's rapid slide may already be impossible. Somehow her body must be warm from other sources of heat.
Linda, hurry up.
Coming!
Get your clothes off and get in that sleeping bag with her and warm her up.
Jill? Jill? Don, she's passing out.
Keep her awake, whatever you have to do. Slap her if you have to. I'll get some water heat and we'll make her drink it.
Come on, Jill. Come on. Wake up.
Make her drink this.
Jill. Here, drink some of this. That's the girl. Don, she's drinking some.
Can you move your hands? Come on, Martin, we got to get him in the tent. Get in there with him. Get his wet clothes off of him. We got to put everything we got that's dry on him.
It's not hospital treatment, but it's enough. Peter and Jill will come back. Dusk. With early detection and all-out first aid, a couple of extremely lucky victims are almost back to normal.
Say, why didn't we make a camp like this before instead of going up on that awful ridge?
Well, I knew better, but I just didn't have the nerve to insist.
There's nothing wrong with your nerve.
That was a good one.
Don, what really happened to Peter and Jill?
That's what you call exposure sickness.
Were we really in trouble up there? I don't remember much about it.
You betcha we were. I had a couple of friends that died of something like that.
Morale is high. The well have been busy treating the sick, using every resource to build up a snug, cheerful camp, a real aid to fast recovery.
Hey, look, it's snowing on the ridge. But it's going to be a beautiful day tomorrow.
That's the barren ridge. Last night, a death trap. This morning, a thing of beauty. A fresh, bright world that only the living can enjoy. Already, yesterday's trial exists only in the memories of 5 people. Unlike many hypothermia incidents, this one didn't come to a tragic end. It easily could have. It very nearly did. Maybe it will on the next trip. Maybe on one of yours. You see, he won't be along. Then it will be up to you.